Hey everybody, what's going on? Your host, LovelyCheesePizza here, and welcome, because I want to play a game. You know, I don't know if that didn't sound very good. That was not one of my better, Saw guy impersonations. So, we're just gonna throw that one directly in the garbage. Hello, Amanda. We'd like to play a game. So, that one was a little better. You gotta, at least, that one can be pulled out of the garbage and put back on the shelf. That was at least acceptable. But we're back playing some more of the game of which we are playing, and it is Gran Turismo 3. 15 laps now. Lovely. But here's the thing. I mean, I'm pretty sure we're gonna win. Well, an Audi S4 I don't think is going to cut the mustard here. Neither is that Skyline. The 3000 GT can definitely get up and go, but this LM race car is an absolute fucking truck. And I don't mean that in the way that it is actually a pickup truck, but it will certainly barrel through the competition like it is a fortified one. Oh my god, did you see? Did you see the gauge? Oh god, the gauge, man. That thing was like somebody that was eked out of their gourd on like fentanyl and crack at the same time. I mean, and now see you guys later. I mean, it's more of a race for second at this point. We're not going to have this be anywhere near close like the previous race for a while was. This thing is out of control, and the fact that it's four-wheel drive also, its handling is superb. I mean, it is beautiful in comparison to what we were just driving, and that RX-7 really was great. I mean, it handled really nicely. I mean, every once in a while I'd have to, maybe brake a little bit harder on some heavy corners, but this thing is just... I mean, it is God in the form of a car. If God came down to Earth and took the form of a vehicle, it would probably look something like this, and it would be sponsored by, Brembo and, like, Eibach Springs. Yes. That's an ad campaign I can get behind. Eibach Springs, sponsored by God. Or we sponsored God. So that's how you know it's good. If God uses our springs, then so should you. But anyways, I mean, we're moving along here. We got into the four-wheel drive section. We beat the rear-wheel drive cup last time. We got a cool little Skyline GTR road car that it was pretty cool, but it wasn't four-wheel drive, and so I wasn't going to use it for this, but I figured we might be able to beef it up for something. But then as soon as I started weeding through my four-wheel drive area, I came across this thing at the last second, because I really didn't know what I was going to use. I was kind of a little bit between a rock and a hard place, and I was kind of considering using the RUF that we had, that we got as a prize from a couple tournaments before, and it was just in a different color, and then I realized there was an entire extra section above that we didn't get to, and then I found this bad boy in there, and oh boy, am I glad I did that, because this is going to be smooth sailing tonight, which is good, because you know what that means. It means that it's story time, and I've got two things. I don't know, because this first story, it goes back to Christmas, and I don't know if I talked about this before I went on, my unwilling break of being sick, and also just being super busy with school and, being a dad and working and all that stuff. But this is nuts. Like, this is something that I wouldn't be surprised if this somehow, became... something that inspired an episode of, like, Forensic Files, or even like like Dateline NBC with, whatever the hell the guy's name is. I don't know why I keep wanting to say Peter Sellers. It's definitely not Peter Sellers, but it's the it's the old-ass guy that his face is about as leathery as a Dolce & Gabbana designer bag. I mean, it's ridiculous. And the guy, and it's, hosted by Lester Holt, and the guy that's doing the moderating dialogue along with Mike Tirico, Craig Melvin. He also does Dateline. It is like this. It was something that was just like so freaking gruesome and gross and weird, and it just so happened to happen like right nearby. So I think this was Christmas Eve when this happened. It was either Christmas Eve or Christmas Day. And I've mentioned over the years that my dad owns a couple of different little, like 4-plex and 8-plex housing developments. And he's been in the market of trying to sell them for a while. And one of them is really, really close to the house here. It's within, a couple miles, right on the main road out here. And I mean, Lancaster it's one of the main roads here in Salem. And it's just a straight road. And I mean, there's his apartment complex is by a retirement home, and there's an apartment complex across the street, along with a gas station. And it's more or less. I mean, there can be heavy traffic at times, but at night there's usually not a lot going on. And I mean, Christmas Eve, there's not going to be anybody out. But apparently, what had happened, and this story has been revised because we've gotten new information about this story numerous times, but we came to find out that at like 2 in the morning, which would have been Christmas morning, or maybe it was 2 in the morning Christmas Eve, I don't know which day it was, it doesn't really matter, but there was a fatal car accident that happened literally right in front of where my dad's the little 4-plex housing tenement that he owns, where what happened was a guy was driving drunk, and he was driving probably 95 miles an hour, and he hit a pedestrian that was walking across the street from the gas station just to get on the other side of the street. And this is the part where it starts getting gross, he hit the pedestrian dead on, going 95 miles an hour, and severed the body into numerous pieces. I mean, the upper torso just got completely separated from the legs, and apparently, because of how fast he was going, the legs were found like 1,000 or 1,500 yards away, like over in the parking lot of the nursing home. And like there were arms over by the gas station, and there was another one that was down the road, just in the middle of the road. And the torso, the first part of the story, the way that we heard it, was that somebody, hit the person going 95 miles an hour, and it, the body parts were flying all over the place. And then the original story was that the guy stopped the car, got out of the car, picked up the torso, put it in the trunk, and then drove all the way to Kaiser, which was where I was living at the that's where I used to live. Drove it to Kaiser, and then got apprehended later on over there. Which, how weird of a conversation, even if you're totally drunk, how weird of a conversation, and trying to explain away how you got a severed torso in your trunk. How weird would that be? How is that not the most sobering thing that could possibly happen? Because this dude was still absolutely blitzed. I mean, I would assume that his blood alcohol level, to still be drunk after hitting a pedestrian and killing them immediately and severing their body parts, like, if I even just got in a regular car accident, even like a mild one, I would go from being drunk to sober so instantaneously that, I mean, it would feel like I had been drinking water all night. There's no way I would still be so wildly inebriated that I would, not even be able to register really what's going on. But, so that was the original story. And then we found out later that that's not exactly how that went. I mean, that's a pretty you know, fantastically awful story as it is. But apparently, what really happened was that when he hit the body, like, all the body parts still flew all over the place where they went, but the torso actually just went flying through the windshield and got stuck in what was left of the windshield, you know, and in the passenger seat of his car, which it's miraculous that hitting somebody that hard at that speed wouldn't have just made the car not even drivable, you know, let alone having the entire windshield just, like, cease to exist, for one. But the torso shattered the windshield for the most part and got stuck in the front seat of the car partially, and also partially in the windshield. And instead of stopping the car and being like, holy shit, like, what have I done? I'm a murderer now. He decided to drive the car in this condition at 2 in the morning all the way to Kaiser, which from that area, that's a solid, I don't know, 3-4 miles. So you're driving 4 miles with just a torso with no limbs or potentially head attached. You're just driving like normal that way. He goes all the way into Kaiser, ditches the car in a parking lot, and then proceeds to walk all the way back to the original area of which he hit the person, but a little bit further down, which took him like 4 hours, mind you, to do that. I don't know why it took 4 hours. I mean, 4 miles should not take you 4 hours, but I'm sure, being still completely shit-faced at that point, there's no way that he really was probably even particularly aware of where he was going. But he ended up back in the same area where he, you know, killed the person, and then they apprehended him from there. So, I mean, that is some crazy, like, serial killer type of shit. Not like he did it on purpose, but I mean, that is the most unfortunate way for somebody to, because, like, I mean, you're coming from the gas station at 2 in the morning. Like, I mean, first of all, what are you even doing out there at that time of night? You going to get a big gulp and a couple of donuts and maybe, you know, like some pizza rolls or something? And, like, you're sitting here and you're like, oh man, this is gonna be fucking awesome. I'm gonna go back and, you know, binge watch something for the next couple hours on Hulu, and then all of a sudden, just in the blink of an eye, before you can even, like, look over to see that it's coming, just bam, and your body literally explodes. I mean, that's something out of like a Looney Tunes cartoon where, you know, Daffy Duck is walking across the street and he looks over, and then all of a sudden a truck just rams him so hard that his legs and arms and head all, you know, and his beak just fall onto the ground, but his body just disappears, and then he does the, you know, this sounds like war, you know, that whole thing. Like, that's fucking wild. My dad told me about this, I think it was yesterday or the day before, and I'm just sitting there with, like, my jaw just agape on the counter, like, this is so much worse than the original story that you told me that was already bad enough as it was. So, all I have to say about that is fucking yeesh. That's rough. This next story, though, is just weird for a couple reasons. I mean, I think the first one is that I didn't even know that grocery stores even did this kind of thing, but it's even more bizarre that somebody would do this. So apparently what happened is somewhere in Pennsylvania, somebody or some people went and stole 10,000 bees from a grocery store. I didn't even know that grocery stores were keeping bees, let alone 10,000 of them. And, like, whose idea is that? Like, what kind of weird-ass cockamamie schemes are you concocting in, you know, in your basement at, you know, 3:30 in the morning? Hey, dude, you know what we should do tomorrow? We should go steal a bunch of bees from the store, and then we can finally fulfill our plan of harvesting all of their honey so that we can create a honey-based shape-shifting killer robot. Oh my god! It'll be the world's first one. And, you know, but like, that's weird to me. Like, I guess I have, now that I think about it, I have heard of some grocery stores that, you know, they sell fresh honey. But I guess I never really put together the idea that there would be a grocery store that would just have crates upon crates upon crates, the stacks and stacks of crates of bees just somewhere in the back. I mean, hey Jerry, where do you want me to put these, you know, 10-gallon drums of water? I'll just go put them over by the giant full civilization, the full New York City to scale of bees. You know, I hope nobody comes back here and steals all the bees. But it's like, you know, I get that honey is expensive, but it just like, that seems like an odd thing to just be like, man, I'm really down on my luck. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna go find a way to sneak into a grocery store after hours and raid their stock of bees, providing that they even have them in the first place. But I mean, just imagine reading that in like one of those busted magazines. You got these two guys that, you know, they're just standing there holding their, you know, intake plaque or whatever the thing is that they hold up that's got their number on it and their names and the county and whatever. And they, you know, and of course they've got to have, you know, like the black eye, because when they got wrestled down by the police or whatever, they had to take, you know, had to leave a mark of some kind, because it always does. And, you know, it just says, you know, the cause of wine is, you know, theft 1, you know, stealing 10,000 bees. It's so stupid. Oh, God. And, like, you know, you end up going into the chokey or whatever, and just like, yeah, what are you in for? Oh, I killed my ex-wife after I found out she was sleeping with another man. Hey, what are you in for? Oh, Grand Theft Auto. I stole a bunch of cars, ended up getting caught. What are you in for? You know, I was feeling a little down on my luck. I could have robbed a bank. I could have, you know, gone to a jewelry store and taken, you know, hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of fine jewelry and pawned it off and made a fortune. But instead, get this, I went to the grocery store after hours and I stole 10,000 bees. They're like, oh my God, make him the ringleader. Nobody here's got balls like that. Murder, pah. Theft of bees, let's go. He's gonna be the leader of us all. He'll do what no one else can do. I mean, that's just nuts to me. Of all the harebrained schemes, that's the one. That's the one. Surprisingly, we're getting through this race pretty quickly. I mean, this race is you know, we're only at the 17-minute mark, and I mean, the one that we did on the same track, no less, you know, with the RX-7 was probably at least vaguely close to the same amount of time. I mean, probably a couple minutes less, but I mean, 5 extra laps, and we're only elapsed like an extra 3 minutes, maybe. I mean, that's impressive. We're also using a car that's got significantly more horsepower and way better handling, and we never had to use the pit stop either, so. But, yeah, I am loving every bit of it. So, yeah, man, I mean, it's something else. It really is. But I am looking forward to doing some things this year. I want to make it a point, you know, a resolution, if you will, even though I'm saying this, you know, a few days before Valentine's Day, because we're already getting that far into things. I really want to do some Silent Hill games. I finally broke down today while I was at work, because one of my favorite YouTubers, Maximilian, he primarily does fighting games. I've talked about him on the channel before. He's one of my favorite people to watch on YouTube. It's great content all the time. He does fighting games like 95% of the time, but every once in a while he'll play some other stuff. He's had some great runs of like Resident Evil games. He's done like Dark Souls and a bunch of things like that, and he'll do full playthroughs of things. He did Bloodborne, and he's done, you know, a whole slew of things. But he did a full run through a few months ago of Silent Hill 2. And I was like, and I've been really faithful virtually my entire life about not watching any gameplay of any Silent Hill games because I've wanted to experience them for myself. And I was just like, you know what? I'm 34 years old. These games have been out for fucking ever. I've gotta see what this is all about. Like, Silent Hill 2 is such a beloved game in the industry, and it's like, I've gotta see this. Because, I mean, I eventually want to do it, and, like, I'm not going to watch the entire thing, but I at least want to see some of the content, so I can at least, you know, make a judgment on whether I want to do, you know, if I really want to do it or not. And so I started watching it, and do I want to do it? Yes, I totally do. But the game is kind of odd to me. Like, it's got, you know, some Resident Evil feel to it a little bit, but, like, I don't know, like, the way that some of the puzzles are put together feel a lot more, like, convoluted and not as interesting as some of the Resident Evil ones are, and, like, the combat doesn't seem to be as exciting as some of the Resident Evil ones can be, and, like, it doesn't feel, like, it doesn't look like it feels as satisfying when you kill something. You know, like I only saw about like a half hour's worth of gameplay, so I'm sure it probably gets way more interesting further into the game, as all those types of games would. But I don't know, I really kind of struggled with it because, one, it's like visually it looks pretty good for the most part, but it just like the fog, the Silent Hill raining the ash fog that they have, really kind of wasn't doing it for me. Like, I understand it's got to be there because it's part of the aesthetic, but I don't know, like, it looked really just kind of garbled and like, I don't know, it just, I'm and like the inside of, like, the first part that I saw was like, you know, him going through town, and he found his way into like this apartment building, and the inside of the apartment building it was so just, I don't know, I'm having a hard time explaining it. Just the aesthetic of it and like just the vibe that you get out of it, it just didn't have that same kind of really good feel that Resident Evil had. Like Resident Evil 2, Resident Evil 3, just the environment is so much more like complex, and it just has just this way better overall look and feel to it than Silent Hill 2 did. At least from what I saw. I'm sure and again, I'm sure way further into the game, because you know, his video was like, I don't know, like 8 or 9 hours long, so it was a full playthrough. And so I'm sure there's probably a lot of areas where it's like, whoa, this looks really good. It's just the initial feeling that I got out of it didn't really like wow me like I had hoped. You know, I sat down while I was working on stuff at work, and I was just like, man, I'm really like, this is gonna be super cool. I finally get to see what it's all about. And just the first half hour, I was like, I mean, you know, like, I can see where the potential is here, but it's not like, I'm not sitting here like, whoa, I need to do this right away. You know, and then I heard, because I've never really seen stuff from Silent Hill 1, but I've heard in so many cases that it's a good game, but like it's kind of like the graphics are really kind of like they're not great, and they're kind of crunchy looking, and the controls aren't really fluid, and you know, it can be a little rough at times, and it's just like, it's making me weary, but I still want to stick it out and do it because I have such a profound love for the genre, and so I feel like I'd be doing myself a total disservice if I didn't do it. But I don't know. I'm just kind of airing out my feel about it. You know, we're at 90% yet. Ugh, so close. I want to know how many more we're gonna have to win before we bump that up. I could just open up my calculator right now, but I'm not gonna do it. I'm not going to. If we own one more car, we're going to have 69 cars, and we'll never have to buy another one. I mean, I could probably sell a couple, and we could just try to roll with the total douchebaggery. Be like, oh man, I beat the game with exactly 69 cars, because simultaneous oral sex. I still don't understand why a lot of people think that 69 is funny. I don't know, maybe it's just because I'm in my mid-30s now. A lot of that shit just doesn't seem to do it. It's just, I don't know. It is what it is. So, I think we're going to stop right here. My throat's getting really dry right now, even though I have this big-ass bottle of water right here. I haven't done a lot of talking like this in a little while, and so I got to kind of work myself back into it again. But I've been dying to come on here and do a couple episodes of this because it's been so long, and I feel so bad for making you guys wait the amount of time that you guys have to wait, for new episodes of this. And so while I've got the opportunities, I'm just going to try and pump some out. And so thank you guys always for your support and for being patient. I know that this isn't easy sometimes. I know it can be frustrating having to wait, sometimes 2 months or more for episodes of this, but you guys have always stuck with me. All 5,500 of you that I've got out here, and all the regular viewers of this that are around. I really love and appreciate all you guys. The fact that you guys are still sticking with me 10 plus years later, listening to my weird bullshit stories and all of my random observations about things and stuff that I love and things that I don't, and it's just a platform that I can just come and just talk about life and things, and it's great. So with that, my friends, I'll be back. I'm gonna try and film some more stuff tomorrow. I think I want to work on like some like Home Sweet Home and maybe some Halo and maybe some more of this if I've got some extra time. So with that said, my friends, when we come back, we're gonna do some more races, and then we got 2 left. We've got Special Stage R5, I think it was. I hope it wasn't R11. God, that would take so long. And we've got Laguna Seca. So we'll probably do Laguna Seca because it's a pretty short and sweet one. And then we'll move from there. So until then, my friends, this is your host, Lovely Cheese Pizza, saying thank you guys for watching. And I'll see you next time. Have a good one, everybody. Bye.